What's up, guys? Ninth Gym here. I'm back with another meta analysis. Today we have a huge, almost like 470 player tournament for Series 2, held by Pokebros, Nino Pokebros. So shout out them. Go follow them on Twitter. You can join these tournaments. You can see these results live when they're happening. They stream a lot of the time. So definitely check them out. Follow them on Twitter. Go over there right now. Link in the description. So if you're ready to join the hype train for Series 2, it comes out in about a week. Let's get into it. So starting it off with first place, we do have Ally, one of the two. And it's a very interesting team that features Grimmsnarl on it, something that we don't really see that much currently, and for not really good reason. Grimmsnarl is an incredible Pokemon, and it has access to your screens and stuff, but here it also has Misty Terrain, which is a big thing for this team, because you have things like AV Arcanine, Citrus Berry, Swords Dance, Iron Hands. You have things like the Corviknight that actually has a different Terra type and Roost, so it can take advantage of that Misty Terrain. You have all of these different things, and the team definitely just, it can all be grounded, and Misty Terrain can help that. So that's really cool. You also have the Light Clay with the screens, of course, and Spirit Break on the Grimmsnarl. Now, of course, we do have everybody's favorite Series 2 Paradox Pokemon, Iron Hands. Of course, this comes as a surprise. Nobody was really expecting Iron Hands to be the most used Paradox Pokemon. We were expecting to see a lot of Flutter Mane and Roaring Moon and things like that, but it kind of got flipped on its head because we don't have those legendaries anymore. We don't have Flutter Mane Chi-Yu anymore. We don't have Chien Pao to make that Roaring Moon crazy, so now we're seeing Iron Hands. It's a great mix of bulk and offense, and if you use AV on it, it's the most bulky Pokemon, really. It's incredibly bulky. It's a balloon when it comes to HP, and both of its defenses are really good. Special defense is lacking, but you have AV. Here, you don't have AV. We're going with the Citrus Berry. And we also have Terra-type Grass. And Terra-type Grass is actually a really big deal for this Pokemon because it's so good under Trick Room. However, you have Amoonguss being able to Spore under Trick Room, becoming a Wincon. Well, this Pokemon says no to that. And it's pretty cool. Other than that, a lot of standard stuff here. With the Arcanine, you have an AV Arcanine, nothing too crazy. Terra-type Grass, so it has that defensive Terra-type as well as just, anti-Spore, which is really good. Everything's pretty standard over there. Sylveon is also another Pokemon that's kind of standard here, but that's okay. And then you have Gastron, which is a very surprising Pokemon to be on the team because it really only helps the Arcanine at face value. You also have the Sylveon, of course, Terra-typing in Fire, giving you that other, water weakness, making it so the Gastron Storm Drain can take advantage of that. But more importantly, Gastron actually has Terra-type Fire that can remove one of its weaknesses. So you can get away from that 4 times weakness with Terra, and then also still get rid of one of your weaknesses of a Fire Pokemon from Storm Drain. So that's really interesting. Gastron gets a really big buff from that Terra-type, and it's something that we just haven't really seen very explored. Now, of course, we had San Diego or Liverpool last week, and there were a bunch of Gastrons using this new age tech, but it's still pretty cool. Now, of course, we also have Corviknight with the safety goggles, Dragon Terra, which is really just a defensive Terra that's completely different from its Steel-type Terra already. And getting rid of that Thunder or Electric weakness is actually a pretty big deal for this Corviknight. And Fire, it actually turns both of those into a, brush it off, I don't care. So that's pretty cool. You also have Bulk Up, which is, I think, the best way to run Corviknight right now. And surprisingly, no Tailwind on it. But no Trick Room either, so no form of speed control on this team, which is the only unfortunate thing. Other than that, this team's really good. I like it a lot. Not that it's bad because of that. It's just, I'm a speed control guy. Anyway, I spent a lot of time talking about that team. Let's go ahead and talk about the next team. We have a Flutter Mane team that also features the Dindozo Tatsugiri, and it also features the Armarouge Indeedee. So we have a lot of little things going on here on this team, and you also have some forms of speed control in that Speedy, Icy Wind, and Trick Room on Indeedee. Actually, wait, what? You're kidding. No Trick Room on Armarouge or Indeedee. Wow. Interesting. Anyway, we have Terra-type Grass on the Armarouge, which is pretty standard to that. We also have Energy Ball, which is not always ran on it. Sometimes you run Terra Blast also, one of the moves to change for Grass. But I like Energy Ball. I think that's a good way. Armarouge is solid. Indeedee's looking solid. They're both looking pretty standard. The only thing is no Wide Guard or Trick Room to be found on this team, which is really interesting. Now you have Flutter Mane, of course, with the Focus Sash. Nothing too crazy there. Iron Bundle with the Booster Energy. Nothing too crazy. Terra-type Bug is a little interesting. How come? How come? I don't really know that one. Now we have Tatsugiri with the Citrus Berry, even though the, you still have access to that Choice Scarf. So we're running the Citrus Berry, and that's been really popular recently, but mostly on the teams that are using the Focus Sash and the Choice Scarf already. So Citrus Berry is usually just like the, okay, something for Tatsugiri, but here we're seeing it actually as the opt-in item. Cool. And then we also see Steel-type leftovers, pretty standard stuff in Dozo. I'm surprised no sub on this set, but yeah, fair enough. No Chesto Resto, it's the leftovers build, but I would definitely expect to see a sub on this set, like on the leftovers Steel-type. You see that a lot, but not always. And Steel-type is good. You also still, ignore the Clear Smog, which is really relevant, especially with like Amoonguss and stuff. Speaking of Amoonguss, it did seep into this third place team by Kendi. Oh, and shout out Water for second place. Anyway, in third place, we have another team that features a couple of these Paradox Pokemon. We have an Iron Hands, Iron Bundle, and a Roaring Moon. We have Booster Energy on the Roaring Moon, Focus Sash on the Iron Bundle, which is really good. We have Icy Wind. We see no Tailwind on the Roaring Moon, opting for the Taunt instead. But we are seeing the Flying Booster Energy Acrobatics tech, which I think is the best way to run Roaring Moon. Maybe not objectively best, but definitely a really, really strong route to go for with the Roaring Moon. Now we also see the AV Iron Hands, which has been very, very standard. Oh, actually, hold up. In first place, Iron Hands, there was no Fake Out. Interesting. Now we still see the Golden Go, Life Orb Nasty Plot, and the Amoonguss with the Rage Powder to set up the Golden Go next to it. So nothing too crazy on this team once again. We do see the Safety Goggles, so we do get to use the Will-O-Wisp on the Arcanine, which I think is pretty good. I definitely like that. But Arcanine going for the Grass as well as the Safety Goggles is a lot to ignore that. But it works. Also, Fire-type Terra on the Iron Hands to get rid of the Will-O-Wisp tech on it. Understandable. Have a nice day. Now, finishing off our top 4, we have Roto Motors with a pretty cool team here as well that features a couple of these less used, but still very, very viable Paradox Pokemon. We have Sandy Shocks here. That's a very interesting Pokemon that you don't see very frequently. It runs that Earth Power, Thunderbolt, Mudshot, Protect. Mudshot's pretty interesting here. Booster Energy with the Terra-type Electric. We also see Brute Bonnet. That's a little less like, off the walls. Like Sandy Shocks is a very niche Paradox Pokemon to see in this format. Brute Bonnet is a little less niche, so it has access to Spore, which is really good, but you also gain that very, very strong Stab, Sucker Punch, and Seed Bomb. That's very solid. You also have Terra-type Fire on it, which is really interesting. You have Life Orb. Wow. Just doing a lot of damage with Brute Bonnet while still having access to Spore. Pretty good. Now, I also see another Talonflame, which is always interesting because you don't see that super, super frequently in the meta. Usually, if you're going for like a Tailwind, if you want the priority, you go for the Murkrow. And if you don't care about the priority, you go for maybe something like, the Roaring Moon or potentially like Salamence or, a couple other options that are a little less like, generic onto the team. But we do see the Talonflame with a sharp beak this time, which is interesting. But Life Orb's already spoken for. I'm surprised no Focus Sash or maybe even the Covert Cloak, but Sharp Beak it is. Powerful Brave Birds and a very Terra-type grass heavy meta. And just like grasses in general, you have things like, Amoonguss that don't frequently use the Cobra Berry. Of course, we've seen a lot of Cobra Berry on Amoonguss recently, but that's for like mostly the Dindozo tech and a couple other things. There's been like the Flying Terra, Dragonite with Terra Blast and stuff. So Cobra Berry's been understood recently, but not always. We also see the choice specs on the Golden Go, and that's, pretty standard at this point. Now, we also see a Farigiraf here on this team, which is pretty interesting because Brute Bonnet's like pretty mid-speed, and then you have Sandy Shocks, and actually, I don't even know Sandy Shocks' speed. Oh, it's not slow. I don't know, but I like Farigiraf a lot. You also have, of course, that really strong like throat spray stuff. If you want to go that route with the hyper voice, this player is not going for that route though, and that's okay. You have Fairy type Terra giving you that powerful Dazzling Gleam, and that's understandable as well. And then last but not least, we have AV Fire type Hydreigon. Pretty standard stuff. Now, in top 8, we have Yuzu that brought a really cool team that also features the Iron Moth, another Pokemon that we haven't really seen a lot of in this series too so far. Aqua-type Tauros with the Mirror Herb. That's pretty cool. Leftovers, Golden Go. That's something you don't see a lot. You see a lot of like Berry, Golden Goes for the defensive ones. But yeah, Leftovers is also very intuitive there. You also have Protect to make the leftovers like kind of a citrus berry after like 2 Protect turns. So yeah, it's pretty good. AV Hydreigon with the Poison this time. Poison is not very frequently used on here. You mostly see the Steel and the Fire because Levitate gets rid of that ground weakness. Well, Newsflash, Poison also has that ground weakness, and Levitate gets rid of that as well. So Poison's pretty cool. It's a little bit of a mix-up. It really threatens those, or it really like scares off the Fairy-type Pokemon from caring about Hydreigon, you know? You really have to go like a kind of outside the box way. You have to bring a Psychic Pokemon that you wouldn't always bring. Of course, this is open team list, so you will bring it according to that. But then you have Pokemon like the Steel and the Fluttermane that just like don't really care about that then, of course, which is, you know, pretty cool. Iron Moth is pretty interesting, but it doesn't really like feature anything too interesting here. It's kind of just like a booster energy doing damage. You have Acid Spray, which is pretty interesting, but other than that, it's pretty standard. And then you of course have the Golden Go Amoonguss with the Nasty Plot on the Golden Go, and the Amoonguss that can help set up as well, and Fluttermane, which is really, you know, not much more than a one-trick pony at this point. Of course, you're using safety goggles here instead of the, you know, the pretty standard like choice item slash Focus Sash, but oh well. And in 6th, we have Palo with a cool team that features Tyranitar. It also features the Gastrodon with the Fire type, so this is definitely something we're seeing a little bit more pick up. Here, you have Clear Smog, no Chilling Water, but that's okay. Not a lot of Chilling Water on the Gastrodons, to be honest. But Clear Smog's a really interesting tech to see on Gastrodon. It's very strong and good in a Dindozo heavy meta. You also have things like the Nasty Plot, Golden Go, and the setup Pokemon like the Swords Dance, and bulk up Pokemon like the Corviknight, the Annihilate, the Garchomp. You have all these really strong setup Pokemon, and even Roaring Moon with like the Dragon Dance, stuff like that. So here we're seeing the Roaring Moon with the Acrobatics, the Flying. We are seeing a Tailwind here as well, which is very good. Fluttermane, Breloom with a Toxic Orb with a Poison Heal. That's interesting. A very bulky Breloom. You see a lot of like Focus Sash Brelooms and stuff like that to just want to get like a Spore down and then maybe another Spore. And here we're actually going for like a bulky defensive Terra type Poison Heal with the Toxic Orb, which is really interesting. You see like Leech Seed and stuff. So, and Drain Punch. Yeah, so this is a cool Breloom. We also see the Volcarona here with the Rage Powder and the Struggle Bug. So definitely taking more of like a defensive role here instead of that Quiver Dance setup stuff. And then we have a Clear Amulet Tyranitar that has Dragon Dance as well to set up. So a lot of really cool stuff on this team. I like it a lot. In 7th place, we have Kiriru with another really interesting team. Of course, we are finally seeing a Murkrow. This is the first Murkrow here today, and that's okay. That's nothing too wild. We do see a Sunny Day here, which is interesting. But for what really? I guess just to make this Iron Moth do a lot of damage with its Heat Waves, and that's pretty cool. And also, of course, it counters those powerful like Pelipper Palafin teams. But us looking here, there's actually none at all in top 16. No Palafin. We do see one Pelipper team, but it features a Golduck instead, which I like to see. It's kind of weird though. Other than that, nothing too crazy. We do see Iron Hands with the AV, of course, which is like cool. Iron Bundle with the Booster Energy and a Focus Sash Great Tusk, which is a pretty uncommon item for the Great Tusk, but it makes sense. It's not incredibly bulky, but it has a good like typing, but it's not like defensively good. Like it's kind of just like offensively. Great Tusk does a lot of damage. Doesn't have any 4x weakness though, but going into ground makes really strong earthquakes. And yeah, I like this guy. Great Tusk is cool. Rounding off our top 8, we have Angel B, not to be confused with Angel A. And we've got King Gambit, Amoonguss, stuff here, Garganical, we have Armarouge, Indeedee, and Iron Hands. So, you know, you do have Trick Room here, and you do have Trick Room here, so we're taking more of that, like, you know, standard Trick Room stuff. And this team actually really likes Trick Room. We have Amoonguss, Garganical, Iron Hands, and King Gambit all taking advantage of that. So, yeah, this is a pretty hard Trick Room team. I don't know about how I feel about, like, hard Trick Room. I like it, like, a little more versatile, but that's just my playstyle. I think a really strong player that's using a hard Trick Room team can definitely still be incredibly powerful, and as we're seeing here, a top 8 finish, right? Top 8. That's still really good. So, like, yeah, very strong. That's a very strong finish. In an almost 500 player, like, it's very good. A lot of really cool stuff all around, though. Safety goggles here, so you can use Steel is pretty cool for the Heavy Slam. I like the Steel Heavy Slam Iron Hands. It's definitely something to keep in mind in the meta. Now, of course, you have this running up against Torkoal, but Torkoal is just nowhere to be found this meta. We saw 0 in top 8. We see 0 in top 16. I'm sure they exist in this format. They're just not anywhere to be found. Now, that rounds off our top 8. As always, we're going to spend a little less time here, but we're still going to look at these teams. Here is a Palmot team, which we love to see. Farigiraf with the throat spray and the hyper voice stuff. Imprison actually as well, but no protect. So we're really just imprisoning away Trick Room so that we can, you know, play a little bit easier with like Tailwind. And you actually have like Taunt here as well. So yeah, this team can definitely play into most teams pretty effectively as well, which is always cool. You have King Gambit and Iron Bundle without the Icy Wind. Interesting. And then, yeah, that's about it. That's pretty cool. Volt Absorb here so you can protect your guys. I like it. Your Water Terra, Defensive Terras. That's cool. That's cool. Now, next we have Animus with another team here. We got a Mousehold. We got a Dragonite here as well. Dragonite with the Choice Band. It is using the Flying Terra tech with the Terra Blast as well. That's something that's been really, really standard recently, but very good. Wide Lens Mousehold, Iron Hands AV with a Grass-type Terra. Yeah, nothing else too wild, too wacky. We do see a Citrus Berry, Arcanine, like more defensive with the Snarl and Will-O-Wisp, and that's always cool. Of course, the Intimidate. Covert Cloak, Golden Go. Interesting. Another Volcarona here, and this one's also going to be, or this one's not going to be quite the like bulky, you know, supportive role. It's going to be more of the offensive with the Quiver Dance. You have the Grass, so defensive Terra that also gets to give you stab on your Giga Drain, which is really cool. And an interesting Fiery Dance here instead of like maybe your Heat Wave or something like that. Fiery Dance isn't too interesting, like too wild, but it's definitely understandable. You have Covert Cloak Amoonguss, which is cool because of all the fake out like Iron Hands going around. Covert Cloak makes sense to be somewhere on a team. Covert Cloak stonks are going to go up for sure. You also have Iron Bundle here with the Icy Wind, which is awesome. You have Salamence with the Tailwind and the Terra Blast Ground. That's cool. And Photosynthesis Fluttermane with Perish Song. Some cool stuff there. Here we got another Roaring Moon with the Flying Acrobatics. Definitely the most played way to use it. It's also very strong. Dragon Dance as well. Iron Hands with the Icy Wind, or Iron Bundle. Iron Hands with the Grass AV. Nothing else too wild here. Nothing too crazy. Another Farigiraf. Farigiraf is definitely a lot more, you know, played in Series 2. And for good reason. I think the Trick Room stuff gets a lot more powerful with the Iron Hands, but it also gets like a little bit more of a check because Iron Hands is found on so many teams. Same with Amoonguss, of course. So you have like a lot of teams just filling the role of Iron Hands and Amoonguss, which saves you against the Trick Room teams. Maybe not saves you quite as much, but like definitely gives you a good matchup. And of course, Covert Cloak found on Grimmsnarl, that makes a lot of sense. We see Crunch here instead of like opting for screens. We see Fake Tears and Scary Face and all that kind of stuff. Fake Tears Grimmsnarl with Fluttermane is pretty gross. That's definitely something you got to be scared of. Also, Farigiraf with the Hyper Voice with Grimmsnarl, this would be a lot like less scary a lot of the time. Like Farigiraf Grimmsnarl, you're not expecting to like die a lot of the time. Of course, Throat Spray makes Farigiraf kind of tumble down like, you know, with a like snowball effect. It just get really, really powerful. But when you have Fake Tears, make it take a knockout, also go into a +1. If you don't like respect that and you know, you think, oh, well, it's not going to be that damaging. It's not going to be that scary. Yeah, you have to be scared. And you can't fake out it because it's Farigiraf. It has Armor Tail. So, yeah, I really like this. I like this team a lot. This team's cool. I like this team a lot. We got another Volcarona here. This time we're going for the Water Dance. We're going for the more, you know, safety goggles Quiver Dance build here with the Water-type Terra instead of the Grass for the Giga Drain. Interesting. Wash Rotom. Protective guy or like defensive guy. Yeah, nothing too crazy. We have another Farigiraf team here as well, which is cool. I love Farigiraf. Throat Spray, normal, Hyper Voice, really strong. I love Farigiraf actually. I'm starting to really like that guy. It's growing on me. Now we have a Steel Gastrodon, which is interesting, but saving you know, for the Heat Rotom with the Storm Drain and the Ground Great Tusk. I like it. Choice Scarf Great Tusk. Wow. And then rounding off our top 16, we're going to be looking at a Golduck AV Swift Swim Terra-type Grass with Terra Blast. That's a lot of stuff. That's cool. I like that. I like seeing Golduck because it's very underused. And we don't really see many Swift Swim teams, and when we do, it's always Dreadnought. So seeing a different one with the Pelipper is pretty cool. Now we also see the Armarouge and Indeedee, so we have a couple like cores here. And of course there is Trick Room found here and here for our Sandy Shock, or for our Iron Hands particularly. But Sandy Shocks can potentially take advantage of it, maybe. You see Expert Belt with Ice Terra Blast, and that's pretty interesting. There's some good ground stuff going around, so yeah, it makes sense. This is actually a pretty strong Sandy Shocks. I like Sandy Shocks. I have not seen it played very much, but I like it. Now, that was rounding off our top 16. Let's look at the rest of the top 32, but I'm not going to click on the things very frequently. I'm just going to go through them. We have another Dindozo Tatsugiri, and what's that, 2? Dindozo Tatsugiri so far? Just a 1 in second place, and then 1 outside of top 16? Wild. Yeah, Dindozo really is getting a lot less play here in this meta. I think early on, a lot of people just want to play more like Paradox Pokemon, so they're using a couple less like cores that don't really like supplement the rest of the team. And that's Dindozo Tatsugiri. Dindozo Tatsugiri really takes the main focus of the team. So when you use other things that want to be the main focus of the team, they kind of push each other out. So a lot of people aren't using the Dindozo Tatsugiri, and that makes sense. Stocks go down for that guy. They'll go back up though, for sure. They definitely will go back up. Next we have another Great Tusk Tyranitar stuff. That's pretty cool. A Ceruledge. Wait, I know I wasn't gonna click on very many, but what is Ceruledge doing here? Clear Amulet, it's got grass, it's Flash Fire, so it's really just like a check for these powerful Trick Room teams that have like access to Torkoal and Amoonguss, and of course like it can't be fake outed before Terras and all that kind of stuff. So and actually this thing would wall the that thing walls the Iron Hands pretty well too, so I like it. Maybe not wall, because it can still like pack a punch with Drain Punch and stuff, which would be neutral on the grass, but still, yeah, pretty good. We got another Corviknight here, another Gastron, the Sylveon. Is that the yeah, that's the first place team. They probably worked together. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they just came up with a really cool team separately. Another Iron Hands, another Iron Bundle. Some really good stuff here. Oh, we do see a Screamtail team here, and I think this stuff's really cool. We do see Perish Song here and here with the Gothitelle. So we're seeing like a Perish Trap team that has access to the Screamtail. Screamtail makes Perish Song a lot better this format. Having a really bulky Perish Song user that has access to Disable could be really good. Terra type Steel to just like be a protective Pokemon. You have Booster Energy to instantly give it a +1 almost into its like defensive, something defensive. You have a Amoonguss Arcanine Palafin as well. A lot of really cool stuff on this team. It's a really interesting team. You have the a Series 2 version of Perish Trapping, which is very interesting to see. Something you don't see a lot. So, pretty cool. You also see another Ceruledge here, which is cool. You see a Torkoal Lilligant. Finally, a Torkoal team. Torkoal is definitely really strong in this format, being able to boost these photosynthesis Pokemon like Flutter Mane and stuff like that. And then we see a regular Hariyama, not the Iron Hands, which is interesting, but you know, it serves a different role. It's Guts instead, which makes sense. Flybomb Guts. You have Wide Guard or Fake Out for the first turn, and then you just start going hard with the Close Combat Dark. You also have, or Knockoff, but you have the Terra type Dark to make that good, so I like that. If Ghost type on the Lilligant, makes sense because the Focus Sash turn 1 on that is like really, really good. If it's like after you eruptioning, then you just like hit the Lilligant and then boom. Maybe the Torkoal. I don't even know there actually, but either way, yeah. Yeah, probably the Lilligant. Anyway, the Dragonite here also has the Choice Band, the multi-scale, which is really interesting. Yeah, cool stuff. Ferrograph, you gotta love them. We got a Baxcalibur here, the first Baxcalibur in this tournament. We also see another Pelipper Palafin team, or actually the first Pelipper Palafin team, using that Iron Hands additionally on the core as well. We also see Gothitelle on the next team. Without Perish Trapping stuff, we just see the Brute Bonnet. This guy sets Trick Room up. You also have a Sableye here. What's Sableye got going for him? Light Clay, Screens, Encore Disable. I like it. I'm a big fan of Sableye. You guys know it. You guys already know. Got another Dozo Tatsugiri here, and that's cool. Got a Salazzle here as well. People really are liking Salazzle. Fake Out Endeavor with the Focus Sash. That's cheeky. Another King Gambit here. Nothing too wild and wacky here. We got a Scizor. What's Scizor doing? Fear Amulet. We got a Mo Rotom too, actually, which is really interesting. That's cool. And Scizor. The Rotoms being able to Electric type Terra is still pretty scary with Levitate. Like, that's really solid. Pretty solid. This guy does a lot more damage, though. Will-O-Wisp, pretty good. Swords Dance Scizor. And then we got a Snow team to finish it off. We've got an Abomasnow here. What an abomination this team is. I'm just kidding. I like it. Snow Warning is cool. We've got Light Clay, Aurora Veil, Abomasnow with the Blizzard as well. No Protect here. And we have the Iron Bundle here as well. Also being able to take advantage of this. Do we see any other Ice Terras? No. And then we have Roaring Moon with the Ground Stomping Tantrum instead of acting. Oh, and Breaking Swipe. Okay, so it's not going for like that Tailwind. It's not going for that Acrobatics tech. It's not going for any of that. That's cool. You also see Pinchberry, Arcanine here with the Water type, and a Moongus and Iron Hands. So a lot of cool stuff here. Good thing we got like a nice little mix up there at the end with the Iron Bundle Abomasnow team. That's always something that's really cool, you know, finishing it off with an interesting thing like that, the Abomasnow. So yeah, shout out Pokebros, Nino Pokebros, of course. Join, follow their Twitter so that you can get access to these tournaments and join these tournaments and stuff. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, comment, subscribe. I didn't expect this video to go so long, but it always does, these long, you know, top 32 when I actually go in depth. So have a good day. Goodbye.